Okay, Council, any questions for either of these gentlemen? Gail.
I do. I have a question for you, and thank you for coming tonight. You keep sort of talking about filtering. I don't know. Is that something different than we're doing right now? And is that the optimum thing we should be doing? I mean, we're looking for I think the least expensive route here, sure. And I'm wondering if some sort of other filtering is the best thing we should be doing, sure. Maybe.
Well, first off, our office and the regulations guarantee that the water is going to be safe, regardless of whether you were to install filtration or whether you continue going unfiltered. You know, some of these extra steps are there to make sure that happens. So, you know, the water is going to be safe either way. Okay, filtration. I mentioned the multiple barrier approach. You know, when you're filtering water, you're passing it through a physical barrier that blocks a lot of the particulates and a lot of the pathogens that come along with that from getting through. So right now that's not happening. All the pathogens are just being disinfected with the chlorine. So I guess filtration is a more robust, so I would say it is more protective, and that's why the unfiltered systems have these additional requirements placed on them.
Well, I'm wondering in 10 years, are they going to come back and say every water system has to run through a filtration system? I mean, it seems like they're changing every year what's required. Is that?
I might address that. We can't say for sure, but I mean, every city from Portland to Bend to Walla Walla to some of the Seattle area utilities are facing that very decision, because probably ultraviolet is the least cost now and the least maintenance. Our hometown of Pentland put in membrane filtration, and I know I've had recent discussions with Bend in particular. I don't deal with Portland, but there it's a dilemma because city staff would rather probably put in membrane filtration or some other filtration, because long term, if you have a fire, if you have some catastrophe in the watershed, then you're kind of covered. And, you know, that will meet the regulation for sure as time goes on. But the cost is so much more that's the dilemma. If you know, and everybody's facing that.
Could you hold that microphone up a little closer?
Sorry. Usually I'm such a loud talker that they turn it down. But I don't know if that answers your question, but it's basically a cost benefit. As Bill says, the ultraviolet or some other treatment.
There we go.
Will meet the regulation, and that's the issue, is trying to find out what will meet the regulation and is still doable financially for the city. And I might add too that right now there's a lot going on with funding programs, revolving loan fund, and I don't even like to say the word, but you know, various types of stimulus packages. But through the Safe Drinking Water Act, there are good funding programs now, and the word we're getting is that there's quite a bit more actual grants going along with that. So at least it's timely at this point. I mean, EPA and Congress recognize, well, in some ways they recognize what a severe burden this is. So they've tried to provide funding mechanisms that make it doable. But it still comes down to a decision that fits your community and you know, the risk that you're willing to bear for the long term. And it's a tough decision. And Michelle probably knows the numbers better than I do. I had the numbers from Bend, and even Portland, you know, they're wrestling with that too, because in Portland, you know, they could utilize their surface supply more, you know, during periods of maybe particular turbidity events, or at times when they draw down the water in their reservoir if they have kind of a drought. So they try to weigh those things too, and they've got a well field they can turn on as backup. So it's a very complex issue, but you have to figure out what meets the needs for your particular situation.
Yeah, thank you.